Hey nerds, Farmer Jesse here. Welcome to Growers Daily, your daily dose of ecological farming insight. It is Tuesday, November 11th, 2025, and today we are going to discuss the idea of dirt mulches, the power of true citizenship, and winterizing the irrigation. So let's do it. All right, everyone, welcome to Till Tuesday. Every Tuesday is brought to you by our friends at Till Soil, and it's officially their pre-sale season for 2026. So check that out at tillsoil.com. Farmers do get a pretty sweet deal on potting mix for the next season, so check that out. Link will be in the show notes. And not only is it Till Tuesday, but it is also Veterans Day. And to that extent, last week we went to a Veterans Day event at our kids' school, and it was really lovely, honestly. A lot of the people who ship off to fight in these wars often not only return with injuries and significant trauma, but also to silence. The government's support for their mental health and physical health is insufficient, frankly, as is the public support for what these people have often been through. I have a lot of love and affection for our vets for what they've experienced, often still as children. I also find that vets often have really complex and rich views of the world and deeply enjoy my conversations with them. So anyway, I wanted to shout out all of our veteran farmers and growers out there. Support the Homegrown by Heroes label when you see it, and send some love to the local vets and vet farmers in your life. I'm not sure which are the best vet farming programs out there, but there are a few, and feel free to drop those in the comments section for people to help support. Also, unrelated, keep your 20-second farm video clips coming, and if you have a good farm-to-table recipe that you are rocking this season and want to share it, you can also send that for our November challenge. Send those 20-second video clips to farmermike@notillgrowers.com. Okay, changing gears almost entirely, let's talk about dirt mulch. What is it, and is it actually an it? Like, is it a thing at all? I guess for starters, what even is dirt mulch? Like, what am I talking about? Most people who have worked on a tillage farm know this term, dirt mulch, or at least they have seen it in action. What it is not is bringing in dirt and mulching over top of beds with it. That would be a wild thing to do. Instead, the idea is that when you cultivate the surface of a bed or around a crop with a hoe or a similar tool in a tillage operation, the act of cultivating breaks up the soil surface, and it breaks up the soil surface compaction and creates a little layer of dirt on top, or a dirt mulch, sometimes referred to as a dust mulch. The idea is that by cultivating the surface, one cuts off the wicking effect of the soil, where the soil is just allowing moisture to escape when it's in that sort of hardened state. But as the idea goes, if you cultivate it, then you stop that wicking effect. And to a very small extent, that is somewhat true, depending on the soil type, the soil moisture, the region, etc. But according to studies, the moisture retention is relatively negligible in almost every instance. Moreover, when we go through what all mulches do for the soil, dirt mulches don't really do any of them. Retain moisture? Not really. Protect the soil from eroding? No, not at all. And maybe even the opposite. Keep the soil cool and or moderate the temperature? Nope. Bare soil is hot even when it's broken up a bit. Do they feed the soil or add soil organic matter? Yeah, no, not that either. So I suppose that in a way it does keep the soil slightly more moist in some conditions, but by and large, dirt mulch is not really a mulch at all. It is often necessary, to be sure. This dirt mulch is created through cultivation, which is done to nip weeds in their literal buds. But I think that the dirt mulch concept is often used to ascribe more meaning and importance to the practice of basic cultivation than the science seems to bear out. I should also say that cultivation when the soil is too wet can lead to compaction layers, and cultivation when it's too dry can lead to wind erosion. So creating the dirt mulch itself is somewhat of an art, and it's not even necessarily an art that is helpful. So in an ideal scenario, though, like I said, it may be necessary in some instances, we are not relying on cultivated soil as our mulch. So anyway, what say you all? Any thoughts on dirt or dust mulching? Have you ever heard this term? Let us know, and otherwise we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, winterizing the irrigation, you get it, BRB.
Morning everybody, it's Farmer Mike out here in central Kentucky, where it is currently negative 90 degrees Fahrenheit, give or take. Just wanted to check in. Here is the pea and oat cover crop in all its dead glory. We got 2 nights of temperatures in the teens, and yeah, this is what's left. So it's time for the winter killed cover crops to winter kill. Oh, there's my cat. Jingles! He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
Today's episode is brought to you by High Mowing Organic Seeds. High Mowing Organic Seeds is celebrating their 30th anniversary with 47 fabulous new varieties for 2026. Highlights include downy mildew-resistant cucumbers, a poppy that looks like cotton candy, and 12 new tomato varieties. High Mowing offers more than 750 varieties of certified organic, non-GMO vegetables, flowers, herbs, and cover crops, all trialed for optimal performance in organic growing systems. High Mowing has the professional quality seeds and supportive grower reps to get you from seed to harvest. Visit highmowingseeds.com to request a catalog and use code 26NOTILL, all one word, 26NOTILL, for 10% off your order of $100 or more. That's highmowingseeds.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Farmhand. Farmers who partnered with Farmhand say they grew an average of 63% this year because it's more than software. Farmhand is your business coach and assistant, helping to sell out, save time, and grow smarter with real data from real farms, shaping websites that convert, campaigns that sell, and fulfillment systems that run smoothly. Curious what that looks like? Meet the founder, Ari, at farmhand.partners/no-till and see the same insights and support the fastest growing farms rely on every week. That's farmhand.partners/no-till. All right, back to the show. If you, the listener or viewer, are enjoying this podcast, getting even a small amount of value from it, consider supporting our work over at patreon.com/no-till-growers. I will try to get to questions from everywhere the questions come in, but I will always get to your Patreon questions. Now, today's Patreon question comes to us from Patreon member Rob Hazel, who writes, quote, "Hello, Jesse. I have a question for Farmer Frost about the farm and frost. I installed drip irrigation this season on a plot of 12 30-foot beds of nightshades and other crops sensitive to or unsuitable for overhead watering. The plot slopes away from the water source and uses 3/4 inch black mainline poly and 3/8 inch drip tape. I am removing all of the drip tape to be stored for the winter. My question is, do I need to disassemble all the mainline hoses, couplers, tees, etc., and remove them from the field for inside storage, or can I leave them in the field over the winter? I would be able to drain everything because of the slope. I am in Zone 7B, Eastern Maryland, and we usually have a short period during each winter when night temps are in the teens Fahrenheit. Thanks for all you do," end quote. All right, thanks, Rob. This is a good question, and an important and timely topic, no less, for some of you right now, as we are definitely headed into the winter time. I think it is like 25 degrees outside right now, which is frozen. Yeah, it's frozen outside. On that thread, Patreon member Tom Welsh had recommended that Rob disconnect the pipe from the water source and attach an air compressor to eliminate any water remaining in the pipe. Tom said they commonly do this winterization process for irrigation systems to prevent freeze damage. And I think that's actually a really good idea. So I hadn't thought of that. Good stuff there, Tom. Anyway, I don't generally think it's necessary to deconstruct every component unless there is any potential of it freezing and busting. And I suppose you can leave, those components in the field if they are not going to get stepped on or tripped over or smashed during the winter. Any hard plastic manifolds I may take up, but the mainline stuff is probably fine. Like, I have a timer with a little manifold that I have to drain every year because even a small amount of water in there will not bust the whole manifold, but seems to love to bust the end caps off and means I have to replace the whole manifold. So I take those off and stand it up on its end to drain out, then store it in the shed or greenhouse somewhere out of the sun and out of my footsteps. We always have a drain on the, like a drain spout on the low end of our main line. Then we will lay our hoses out too, down the hill to let those run out. But that's the benefit of like you being on a slope. We got gravity on our side here, so that's nice. I also open up any spigots I can down the line just to allow for any excess water to have room to expand if it's still in there and hiding. And for the hoses, even those we don't necessarily plan to use over the winter are drained and stored so that we can just use those as needed on warm days. Also, any spraying heads, nozzles, or any of that stuff is cleaned and drained and set somewhere it can fully just kind of stay dry. There is not a lot to it for us, really, but I always like to take this time to not only make sure all the water is out, but to go ahead and start organizing the irrigation equipment, cataloging what I need for next season, fixing hoses, moving them to a safe place where I'm not going to trip over them. We also have like a high volume water filter that we will also have to disassemble and drain or it will bust. So that's fun and expensive. So it really starts at the spigot and we work our way all the way through the system. Sometimes this is a great time to learn and possibly deal with some of the inefficiencies in your system and your irrigation. not having buried lines, for instance, or not having enough weed protection around various areas, all that sort of stuff. Anyway, I like Tom's advice there, so I'm going to second that and just say be thorough and think like water. It likes low points, so get rid of any low points that it may collect and then break apart your equipment like a jerk. And then, of course, think like a farmer in the snow. What might you inadvertently smash walking around in the winter? All right, great question, and feel free, commenters, to add your insights to the comments section. Up next, we will talk about the big effects of small, which will make sense in a minute, or not. Be right back. Today's episode is brought to you by Johnny's Selected Seeds. Johnny's Selected Seeds is a proud supporter of Growers Daily. At Johnny's, they do more than sell seeds. They grow them. They trial them to see how they perform on Johnny's research farm in Maine and across the U.S. and Canada. Only the best varieties are added to their catalog and website. When you need proven varieties you can count on and detailed guidance from seedling to harvest, consider Johnny's your trusted growing partner. JohnnySeeds.com. That's JohnnySeeds.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Marble Seed. The Marble Seed Organic Farming Conference attracts a wide range of regenerative and organic farmers for 3 days of skill development and community building. Farmer Drew Kramer said, "Going to Marble Seed was so invigorating at a time when I needed it most. I picked up tools I'm already using." The conference is the final week in February in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Early registration opens December 4th at conference.marbleseed.org. That's conference.marbleseed.org. All right, back to the show. All right, so last week I did a segment that was on like what keeps me feeling positive, and after it went up, this Wendell quote popped into my head that I think about often. One, because what it says, but also two, because it's one of the most satisfying few sentences ever written. It's from an essay called "Some Thoughts on Citizenship and Conscience" in honor of Don Pratt, and it's out of a collection of essays entitled "The World Ending Fire," which I will link in the show notes. But it goes, quote, "My devotion thins as it widens. I care more for my household than for the town of Port Royal. More for the town of Port Royal than the county of Henry. More for the county of Henry than the state of Kentucky. More for the state of Kentucky than for the United States of America. But I do not care more for the United States of America than for the world." End quote. Yeah, I love that. This essay is about citizenship, about government, and essentially how citizenship means more than just having, living somewhere, being from somewhere. It's not a perfect essay, but it has great moments and sentiments. For instance, he writes that, quote, "It has become permissible to assume that all one needs to do to be a good citizen is to vote and obey and pay taxes, as if one can be a good citizen without being a citizen either of a community or of a place." End quote. Essentially, the idea is that being a citizen isn't just about what you say, but what you do locally. It's about being involved, and perhaps even more than that, it's about caring for the soil beneath your feet, being a citizen not just of a place, but of a planet. You can be from somewhere and not a citizen of it, in other words, or you can be from somewhere else and be an exemplary citizen of where you are. And I find it a hopeful quote in that the greatest powers that we have start at home, in the garden, with our communities, and then they slowly diminish the further away from that we get, or thin as they widen, to use Barry's phrase. It's a little idealistic in some ways, to be sure, and it doesn't address the need for certain systemic issues, which would just require a lot more people. But in a way, it does give me something hopeful to work with. The hopefulness there is that, to me, the community around us is a thing we can all affect, and in so doing, tangibly affect the world. To be sure, that doesn't mean I think there's not larger work to be done. I mean, I love me some, larger scale ecological projects, but that in times of doubt and despair, there is work within arm's reach, always, that can have significant effects on your world. Anyway, I think if I have a point to talking about this, it's that sometimes what can make us feel down is that we feel helpless, when in reality, what we're doing is just forgetting all the power that we do have. To that point, Barry writes, "No matter how sophisticated and complex and powerful our institutions, we are still exactly as dependent on the earth as the earthworms. To cease to know this," he goes on, "and to fail to act upon the knowledge is to begin to die the death of a broken machine." The death of a broken machine is a great line. Anyway, so yeah, go do something good for the soil and the community, because that is good for you and it's good for the world simultaneously. Create and be the market of caring that politicians and leaders have to appease. All right. Let me know your thoughts on this musing or any of my musings. Otherwise, that's it for this Tilt Tuesday. Don't forget, No Till Growers is now officially a nonprofit 501c3, so donations are tax deductible and greatly appreciated. Learn more about how to do that for your end-of-the-year tax breaks in the show notes. Please make sure to like and subscribe and or follow wherever you're getting this podcast. That's an easy way to help us out as well. Enormous thank you to all of our show sponsors, and if you'd ever like to sponsor the show, you can reach out to Farmer Michelle at notillgrowers.com. Huge shouts to Willie Breeding for the theme music and Mike Hilbert for the production help and editing. Also, Also, shouts to Epidemic Sound for the background music that you can hear. Heard that. Pick up a hat or a copy of my book, The Living Soil Handbook, at no-tillgrowers.com to support our work, especially if you need like a holiday gift of some sorts. I would do that soon. Big thank you to everyone over at patreon.com/no-tillgrowers, where at a certain level, or if you just bump up from one level to another, you sign up in the month of November, you get a shout out on the show. So big shout outs today to Dorina Garber, Carol Dinsinger, and Kim Carlson. Shouts, y'all. We've earned more ridiculous stories. And so today, in today's story, obviously, after losing the election, Governor Ginger from yesterday decided to take the winter and just get her thoughts together. In that time, she started cleaning up her home farm and decided she was going to build a greenhouse and really grow a lot of food the next season, calling it Ginger Gardens or Ginger's Gardens. She actually couldn't come up with a name. She felt like she had done a lot of good as a governor to protect her state's natural resources, and figured a nursery and garden was a way so that she could kind of continue that work, albeit on a smaller scale. Then one day, while she was out and, with her grandkids, putting up a greenhouse, and they were running around and doing all the things, one of her grandchildren pointed out this little plant that she'd never seen, that Governor Ginger had never seen before. As a nerd and a student of the outdoors, Ginger could identify almost any plant, but this one was a complete mystery to her. She called an ecologist friend that she'd made while she was governor, and the ecologist said she'd come out and check out the plant. But that is for tomorrow on Governor's Gardens. I don't think she can call it Governor's Gardens, though. I feel like that's probably against the rules. But we'll see. Thanks for watching and/or listening. We'll see you then. Bye.